mental illness typically. In most cases, I would guess, I don't know the statistics. But if you never thought about it, all of that's telling me is that you're self-medicating. Because most people's life sucks so bad that because meth, they'll eventually quit. Meth, you'll hit rock, you'll ruin your whole life. You'll have no teeth, and you'll just ruin your life, and then you'll stop. Weed, who quits weed? Whoever quits smoking weed? Because it's not that, okay, 2 guys in here quit smoking, because it's not, you quit smoking?
I thought, like, to me, I just kind of treated like weed was like a mess on my life, so that's kind of what it was.
Yeah, so you were able to ratchet up a bit. Yeah. But the problem with weed is that it has health benefits. It can help regulate anxiety and things like that. It has all these benefits to it, right? But what it's doing is weed is almost like getting a crap pays the bills, but it limits you from doing other things. So weed is the most low ROI. Okay? You have to understand. People say to me like, again, when people come to me like, are you going to take magic mushrooms? You have to understand, this is like the tourist version of spirituality. This is amateur hour. Okay? Look, I don't mean to be weird here, but I want to put this in context to you. There's places that I've been to that are so spiritual, so to speak, that it's past being moved to tears. Like, it's so intense, it's so hardcore, it's so gangster, that you start to shut down. Like, your system starts shutting down. Now, what do I mean when I say this? Let me give a simple example. If you don't believe me, go fly right now into Fairbanks, Alaska. Hop on a plane and go on a plane to what's called Gates to the Arctic. Okay? Go to Gates to the Arctic. That is, you'll fly through Coldfoot. You'll land in a small plane. The plane will have all the windows open so you can see everything around you. Go north of the Arctic Circle to Gates to the Arctic. Look that up. Go to Denali, which you can get to out of Anchorage, or you can get to out of Fairbanks, about 3-4 hours away. Fly into Denali, ideally on a sunny day, but really any day would be great. There is things that you will see that will make you feel so small, but that are so beautiful that you have to train yourself to even look at what it is that you're seeing. Now, when I say this, the next question that you should have if you're thinking is like, well, then how do people do this without melting down? They do it without melting down because they look at their phone, because they daydream, because they're not truly present to what it is that they're seeing. I am present to what I'm seeing. I've trained myself to be. So when I go in there and I've got all those little sunglasses off and I'm looking directly into Gates to the Arctic, or I'm looking directly into Denali, or directly into the Nepali coast, there's nothing shielding you guys. Okay? And it's like how a kid doesn't have a shield, and you know, if you yelled at them, it could hurt them or traumatize them, but if you filled them with love, you can actually fill your kid with love before they have that shield. You will be filled with so much love and spiritual energy that if you don't have that shield there, like looking at your phone and things like that, you literally feel sick because you can't, it's too much. It's too much. It's like people say you can't look directly at the face of God or it will kill you. That is like a lesser version, but still very intense version of the face of God. And if you look at that, like, I was there, like, in Gates to the Arctic, and I was flying with my friend Sid, and I was just like, oh, like it wasn't, I wouldn't call it even slightly fun. It was not even slightly fun. Because the things that you'll see there are so incredibly beautiful and so intense. And there's places that you can go that are like this. That is what it means to have a sober psychedelic trip, where you retain it and you internalize it because you're challenging yourself to take that at the highest level. Imagine then going into, say, Gates to the Arctic in the middle of winter, say with dog sleds, northern lights in all full color, not just the green northern lights, which are also incredible, by the way, but you know, the full colored northern lights, having that just bearing down upon you as you're deep with no other humans around, no internet around, nothing to shield you, deep in nature, hearing yourself breathe, feeling the wind on your skin, feeling the sheer volume and force that is your life. Imagine boating right into the Amazon. And again, not staring at your phone, not just complaining and gossiping, but just letting that land. That is the psychedelic odyssey. But that's not $12 from a dealer, okay, or from the dispensary. Okay? That's how rich people trip balls. Okay? That's how a rich person trips his balls off. And another way, to be honest with you, is seminars. You guys, you know, this is just a fun kind of meet and greet, these free tours that we do, even though I think they're incredible. But you come to a proper seminar, you are tripping your balls off. Even as a woman, you're gonna grow balls if you trip, okay? So, and you're gonna grow some titties, and you're gonna strip your titties off. Like, that's how crazy it is, okay? You're gonna drink your own milk by the time you're done. And the thing is, those get so crazy, they're that crazy that in the middle of one of those events, I come to you, I'll be like, do you have titties you're ready to drink? You'll be like, I think I might. Like, that's how crazy you can get it. Like, when you understand sober shamanism, like you are a shaman, but who is stone cold sober, and you understand those different devices and levers and things to push on, and the parasites on people's mind, and you're pulling them off and you're waking them up. That stuff, and when you understand the degree of conditioning that's happened and how to get in there, this stuff is so crazy. It is so intense. And you guys need to understand that this, like, I've learned this stuff from years of studying it, and I'm at 1% where I want to be. Like, I will leave behind a legacy of what it is that I know, but my hope, and I really believe this, that if humanity continues, we'll see if we do with everything going on, but if we do, my hope is that what I do, what I want to be like that 5'8" basketball player from the 50s who's playing in the NBA, who's like that compared to LeBron. I want to be that guy. Like, I will push and push and push and push and push and push and push till I die on this, okay? But I don't want me to be the pinnacle of this. Like, you know how Jordan, like, no one's fully beat Jordan yet? I'm partial to Kobe. I feel that Kobe did, but I love Kobe and I'm way too biased, okay? But you know how most people don't think, like, Jordan was beat? I don't want to be Jordan. I want to be the 50s guy, okay? I don't want to be Jordan. I want to be the 50s guy. Because if I'm that guy in the 50s, that means that I was able to accelerate the genre so that other people would have what took me decades to figure out, just go boom, like, right, escalated, and then they take it from there. I don't want to be Jordan, where, like, I outperformed everybody, and it's like, oh, that guy was some unique little character, like, you know, things like that. I don't want to be that. I want to set, if I live long enough, the things that I want to do are so crazy, and that's what my goal is. But really, what I care about is how my sons, or if I ever have a daughter, carry that legacy, or how you guys carry that legacy, or what other people build on top of that. But you need to understand that once you start to see this stuff, you can't unsee it. Once you, like, for example, you'll, even after, like, something simple like this, you'll never be able to watch a conservative philosopher again in the same way, just based on what I said. You know? Like, every time that you watch Fox News, and they're like, clean your room, and, like, you'll realize it's a distraction. Okay? Real conservative philosophy is when you think about it, the idea of conservatism, how deep does that go? How deep is that rabbit hole? Can you imagine how deep that rabbit hole is? When you stop and think, pause and consider this. The United States was built basically by rebels, by revolutionaries. And it was built by philosophers. Real philosophers. It was built by explorers. It was built by people that were about it on a level that they're ready to die. I'm not claiming to go kill yourself or anything. Okay? These are people that boat on, look, what would I have to pay you to take a wooden boat from here to Europe without vitamin C? Okay? You actually used to die from that back in the day, okay? What was that called that you get? Scurvy, right? Look, I'm a ballsy dude. I went to Gates the Arctic. I ain't going to Europe in a wooden boat. My great-grandfather did that. He lived in the prairies in Saskatchewan. So, on a wood boat, that's crazy. They came on a wooden boat. They were philosophers. They believed in freedom. These are people that if you told them, you're going to have to drink the same BS okay? This tea as in the drink. They're like, hold my beer. Okay? Like, compare those guys. Like, we're going to tell you what tea to drink. And look at the mentality behind those people compared to what we're at now with, like, weed, Netflix, and Chipotle. Okay? Think about that for a minute, okay? I'm not saying to go do anything crazy. I'm not saying to go, look, that's the problem with also with conservatives, is that they saw the kind of revolution that happened back in the day by, going to war. You're not going to win a war to create freedom now, okay? The war now is a political fight done legally and done ethically and done properly within those boundaries of politics, and there's a political system that they had to go to war to put in so that you could have the ability to have a voice, that you could talk and it could be potentially effective. So you don't need to do that anymore. That's over. But, okay, some people feel differently. I don't. I'm a peaceful person. This can be done peacefully. But it's about winning over hearts and minds. It's about allowing people to raise in their consciousness. Now, when you look at the Bible, you look at the Gospels, for example, at the end of the day, the real theme that nobody wants to talk, when they talk about Jesus, they talk about kindness or love or things like that. All amazing, all important. But what's the main thing that he was doing? He was trolling the establishment. He was the equivalent of an internet troll, but thousands of years ago. Now, how do we know that he was a troll? I'm saying this is a joke. Okay, don't you call him Jesus, internet troll? Okay, no, I'm not. I'm saying it to get you thinking. Why? What was he doing? Why did he get killed? Because he trolled and trolled and trolled and trolled and trolled and trolled and trolled the establishment until all that they could do now was to kill the guy. That is coming from that same of recognizing what pockets of power does to people. Now, what did Jesus say as a, what was he saying the establishment was doing? Hypocrites, what else? Corrupt, what else? Virtue signaling was huge, what else? That they were claiming to be helping to spiritually elevate people, but they were proactively causing people to go to hell by creating the same sub-dom virtue signaling dynamic that I talked about earlier. That would be a way of interpreting it. Quoting the Bible, there's a million interpretations. I'm giving you a novel one. Very quick, and I'm going to get to the point, but yes. Louder. Yeah, louder. Yes. Yeah. So, okay, so let's keep going. Okay, because you got to have a clear point, so think that over. Okay, now let's keep going. So, what's happening is, you're getting, okay, so I like that you're trying here. Now, what's happening is that you're creating an environment of freedom where you're not being shackled, which gives you the ability to ascend. That's the core of this. So the people who created America, they didn't do everything right. They didn't include everybody right away. But they did what they could, even though they didn't include everybody right away. But they laid a framework where eventually we could have inclusion. It took time. But they moved the ball down the field. They didn't get it all the way. And some of them were hypocrites. But they moved the ball down the field. So what happened there, now you have an environment through which you have the capacity for freedom. You have the capacity to understand your own will. You have the capacity to have discernment and to think with clarity and to think for yourself. So America at its core is not just geography. In fact, let me shock you further. At the end of the day, America is always one generation away from not being America anymore other than a name only. One single generation. One generation! Why is that? Because if you win over hearts and minds and think it sucks, it's done. That's all that it is. That flame of freedom that's there, just go look at other countries in Europe and places like that, see what's happening. So that basic flame of freedom that's there, you assume that America will always have that. That is a very, very wrong assumption. In the same way that you can get everybody onto an iPhone, you know, at first you don't need to have an iPhone. Now you can't go to a restaurant without an iPhone. At least for parts of it during lockdown as an example, right? You're a weirdo if you don't have a smartphone. Only a very rich person has the luxury not to have a smartphone, right? Back in the day, if you're poor, you didn't have a smartphone. Now if you don't have a smartphone, it must mean you're very rich. Because you can get by without it and hire people to do it for you. So in the same way, if people no longer value that core sense of freedom, or waking up, or their own ascension, and their own agency, and their own autonomy, if that is something that people will sell out for comfort, and to be a sub in a sub-dom relationship, if the majority of people believe that that's better, then America is America in name only. And so what that means, that you need to understand this, is that what America is an idea. And it's like, have you ever seen that movie, The Never-Ending Story, where there's Fantasia, and eventually the rot sets in, and, you know, Atreyu's trying to fight it. He's doing everything he can, but he's fighting a losing battle here. And all of Fantasia gets blown apart. And he finally realizes what he has to do. And he finds the queen or princess of Fantasia. And it's just this little, tiny light that's left. And he says, is that Fantasia? And she says, yeah, it's just been destroyed to hell. But if there's one person left, one conscious person left, just one, all that it takes is just one conscious person. then that dream is still alive. But they will tear down everything. You will watch them do it. They will tear it down to where you walk down the street and people are spaced out of their mind. They don't know what planet they're on. They will sell their soul out for a hamburger. They will sell their soul for a donut. They will sell their soul to smoke a joint. They will sell their soul to share a TikTok. Values, easily manipulated, spaced out, half out of it, dirked out, barely conscious, and walking down the street in a somnambulous state. That's what you're seeing. And eventually what's going to start to happen is the weed are going to get cut from the chaff. And you're going to see it where the last few people that believe in their own autonomy and the last few people that care about their own elevation or ascension are going to be what's left. And that version of America, what that stands for, what those philosophers stand for and didn't stand for, that may get moved to some island somewhere. Sure. And they will be the last people that care about their own ascension, that value it. They'll be the last people. And they'll be fighting a losing battle. They will be the last people on earth. And they will be of all racial backgrounds, of all genders, of all sexual orientations. Because that stuff's not going to matter in the slightest. What's going to matter is people who believe in God, people who believe in freedom, and not believe in God like, Jesus, my Lord and Savior, I believe in God. No. People who have internalized what that means. We can talk about that. But that will be what is remaining. Now, okay, in books like Exodus, that is previewing that. Books like Noah's Ark, that is previewing that. That is the current direction that we are going. That's the current trajectory. Does that mean that it has to wind up that way? No, it doesn't. It doesn't mean that that's our destiny. But that's the current trajectory. Once we recognize that's the trajectory, then we can begin to move the needle in the other way. But see, here's what you got to understand. People hear about this stuff, and friends of mine will say this. They'll say, well, why worry about that? Just worry about yourself, making money, etc. I think that's true in some ways, absolutely. You know, if somebody just sitting there staring at problems and not taking action, that's another way, it's just another form of procrastination. It's like masturbatory, it's pointless. But here's what you don't understand. If you enjoy playing basketball, and you have a nice court upon which to play basketball, and maybe somebody else built that, well, now you can get better at basketball. So now someone comes to you and says, don't worry about the basketball court. It's fine. Just keep playing basketball. You can't control the court. But eventually that court will get so bad, you're not going to get to play basketball anymore. That's what's going to happen in your own development. For 2 years, maybe you guys want to get better at social skills. You couldn't go out. You didn't have, it's like, oh, just build your social. You couldn't go out. Hey, build a business. You can't, you can maybe build an internet business, but you can't build a brick and mortar business. You see what's going on there? So if you don't care about that, if you don't care about the situation, then you're going to wind up in a position where it's like, well, just worry about your own money. Just worry about your own development. But you can't. Because you're now living in such a crap hole that you can't do that anymore. So now here's the next part of the equation that you need to be thinking about. The next part of the equation to think about is what is your personal contribution? If you yourself are unconscious, you are feeding that dynamic. So you have to say no to that dynamic. Just repeat the word, whether you even agree with me or not in this talk. Just say the word no to what you don't agree. Say no. No. That's not, there's no conviction there. Say no. 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 Okay, good. So say no to those things. Now here's where I go to even a little bit deeper, okay? So as you're building your life, build a life that allows for your ascension, that allows your mind to expand. Build a life that is awesome. Build a life where you think for yourself. Build a life that has meaning to you. Value your time. Think to yourself, like, you know, I said, somebody who commits suicide is probably mentally ill. But allow yourself to look without the numbing devices at how much your life sucks. If you're not living the life that you want, there should be something in you that says, this sucks. I don't want to continue like this. Now, I don't want someone to go hurt themselves, right? I'm not suggesting that. Again, that's what a mentally ill person might do, and they could get help. Go get help if you feel that way. You ever think about hurting yourself, get help. What I'm saying, though, is that, like, for me, if I look at when my life is not going properly, and now I'm living that same BS mainstream life, unless you happen to genuinely love it, I look at my life and I go, I don't want to live like this. I'd rather be dead than live like this. I'm going to do that because I can fix it. But I'd literally rather be dead. See, I feel that that's actually the natural state. But what do? We hide from it with We basically live a crap life, and we numb it with, for some people, porn, video games. Again, that stuff doesn't work for me. I need that harder coca of an awesome life. You know, I need the good stuff, right? I need the good stuff, baby, of life that's actually awesome. I can't operate with like the crappy stuff. You know, I need the good stuff. So the good stuff to me is living an awesome life. So, and a life of contribution, expansion. So think about it within a framework of what do you really genuinely value in life, and don't numb yourself to the fact that your life's not where you want it to be. Stop. So do an audit of this. Okay, we're going to do some exercises. Do an audit of every single area that you're numbing yourself from the fact that your life's not where you want it to be. Coping mechanisms. Write that down if you have notes. I'm going to have an exercise of that. Write down every single area that you're numbing yourself. Write down every single area that you're being pimped. Write it down. Where are you selling yourself out? How are you making it okay that you don't have what you want? Somebody who doesn't have the partner they want looks at porn. Somebody who's not as happy as they want needs to smoke weed. Weed's not even making them happy, it's just numbing them. You know, somebody who's not visiting the most incredibly spiritual place on earth, maybe, you know, starts tripping balls. Somebody who is not in a career that they like, looks at TikTok to numb themselves out. So ask yourself, what are your crutches? What are your numbing devices? Another question to ask yourself is, are you being honest with yourself about the information that you're getting? Like, remember that idea of institutional capture? Review that idea of like, it's basically, the way they get you is they waste your time. Okay? Arguing about how many genders there are is a waste of your time. Thinking that you're dunking on somebody, if you're somebody who's a conservative, thinking that you're dunking on a left-wing person because you told them about your gender ideas, you didn't dunk on anybody. They tricked you into a game you shouldn't have been playing. They got you off of what actually matters. I have friends that if I brought up here, you would walk out of here with your heads exploding if they told you about the deeper, more important issues of life. What I showed you here, for many of you, like that kind of like conservative, freedom-oriented way of thinking, with your soul hanging in the balance, and I barely even gave it the treatment it deserves. It'd be a 5-6 day seminar to even scratch the surface of it. Why isn't the news talking about that? Here's some news. Option A. Some guy says that if he has a dick, he's a girl. Ooh, the news. Great story, right? Whatever you believe about that, that's up to you. Great story, right? Option B. Your soul is being sucked out of your body. Your life sucks. It's ticking down a second at a time. You're part of a sick sub-dom system. You don't know that you're part of it. You're feeding that system, which is creating death and decay, and you will feed that until the walls close to where you have barely any life at all. Like bowling, right? At a certain point, like say this is a bowling lane, part of bowling is that the ball can roll off to the side. What if we just tighten the lane, tighten the lane, tighten the lane, tighten the lane, to where all the bowling is just rolling the ball up this predetermined track? That's not living. You're dead if you live like that. You're living out of the consciousness just of the body, not of the soul. Why don't we put that as the front page news? So what happens is that all these things that, yes, I think that's an interesting discussion. How many genders are there? I think it's an interesting discussion. I'm an open-minded person. I'd like to hear about the different social conditioning that maybe puts somebody in a box. Maybe that, but I'd also even say, let's not straw man it, let's seal man it. You guys know what seal man means? Seal manning means let's not attack the weakest version of an argument, let's attack the strongest version. The strongest version will be there's some merit in considering that maybe somebody who feels like a different gender wants to be supported in that. That is an argument that I'm open to hearing. Should that be the single most dominant argument that we talk about for hundreds of gazillions of hours, forever and ever and ever, and ever 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 and ever? That's what we should be focusing on? And then what Kourtney Kardashian did? So okay, she's cool. What it means is realize the deeper, more profound questions of life. Look, you don't have to have my opinion. Maybe you like to smoke some weed. Then smoke your weed. I don't have to agree with you. Maybe you just love the ganj. You know? Kind of vibe going, you know? It's like a Rastafari kind of thing. You love it. Like, I don't need this ginger guy telling me not to jam out some Bob Marley. That's my thing. You don't get it. You know, Owen. I mean, I kind of do look like I need to smoke a joint when you think about it. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, let's be real, right? You know, forget about the millions of dollars, travel, best parties, day on. Just get high. Maybe it's a better option. I don't know. Maybe that's what I'm missing. I'm open to any conversation. But that shouldn't be the primary conversation. So what I'm getting at is realize the false reality that you're in, right? So for example, there's a lot of powerful conversations around marriage. But what's the main conversation around marriage now? Should you give half your stuff to somebody, incentivize them to leave you, and then spend $500,000 in court to fight them to get your freedom back? That's what the conversation of marriage has become, a lot of that. So they distract you with false conversations, false narrative. The main key is valuing your time. So I'm trying to pull you back for a second to get you thinking here. So again, let's go back to that first example. What I said, even the time you spend taking a crap or taking a shower matters, and I had you drill down on the amount of time that you're spending on that. That's just the tip of a huge iceberg. What we need to be doing is looking at all of how you're using your time, all of how you're using your energy, and all of what you're focusing on. That means that we're doing a budget, baby. It's budget time.
It's budget time.
And what's the first thing that we're dropping when the budget hits? Because you're behind. Unless you have it, like, I gave you my version of what a cool life is. That doesn't mean that that's your version. But unless you're at a point where you're at your version of what a cool life is, you're like that business running a debt. So we're doing a budget analysis now. And what is that budget analysis probably going to cut first? The weedy conversations getting cut. Okay, first we're cutting the weed. Then we're cutting the excess of video games. Then we're cutting the Ben Shapiro conversation. Okay? Then the stuff Jordan talks about, and I love Jordan, just clean your damn room and let's move on from that too. Okay? Just clean the damn room and let's move on. Look, Jordan has a lot more to say. I'm just making the point that, like, guys, if you only knew the depths of some of these conversations and what you're missing, if you only knew, okay, if you only knew the bigger things going on behind the scenes that I can't talk about, the bigger issues that are going on with the world, and just how hypnotized you are, you would never look at this stuff. Like, you'd only have one priority, and that'd be to wake up.
Right.
You'd have only one priority, and that would be to wake up and build the life that is that you want while you have it. That's what your priority would be. Anything other than that is a waste of your time, okay? And so when I'm saying things like, look at how you take a crap, look, if you want to just look at your phone while you take a crap, I don't care, okay? I don't actually care about that. That's not my real advice. I'm just saying that as a thought experiment to get you think of how you're using your time, and then to consider all the fake stuff that you're looking at and thinking about. And the degree to which most of society is designed to waste time. It's designed to suck your time, energy, and focus and momentum out of you. Imagine your life right now if you knew exactly what it was that you want, you knew exactly who it is that you're trying to become, which would be iterated and change as you evolve, but you know, you had a direction. And you just cut all the fat off that budget, to energy budget, focus budget, time budget, momentum budget. You just cut it all out, and you just zeroed in on what it is that you want. What would your life actually look like? Most of us don't even have the same focus for more than a couple seconds. But what would your life actually look like? So let me talk a little bit about how I see things, okay? Let me show you a bit about how I see things. So there's micro level, there's macro level, there's a bunch of different ways that I'm seeing things. But one of the ways that I see things, I'll give you some simple examples, then we'll go deeper on more complex examples, okay? A simple example would be, and I've given this before, if I look at a supplement bottle, and the supplement bottle says, super energy formula, I don't look at the front of the bottle, I look at the back of the bottle, and I see what's in it, and I know what that stuff is. That is a very easy to understand, relatable analogy of being a drone versus being somebody who thinks for themselves. You're just able to look at what you're doing, you see what's actually in it, you're not being told what to think, like, it gives you energy. It's like, actually, well, this thing here does this thing here does that. You just understand what it is. That would be a basic level example. You understand what's behind that, okay? Now let me give you another example. Whenever I'm talking to somebody, I'm not looking at them at their friggin' branding. Okay? I don't care about how you brand yourself. I don't care what you say about yourself. I don't care what you think about yourself. I care about what you are, and I care about what you can be, and I care about how I would be relating and playing with that with you. That's what I care about. So, in other words, when I'm looking at you, I am drilling down on what I think is your greatest potential and your greatest strength. But what you think is your greatest strength is not what I think is your greatest strength. And it's going to take me time to figure out what your greatest strength is. What I mean by that is this. Okay, if you guys look at me, and you say, I'll use myself as an example, narcissism, okay? So what do you guys know me as being good at? I'm good at, say, dating. I'm a veteran public speaker. I have a lot of energy, a lot of outside-the-box thinking. I've done over 100 million sales, probably a couple 100 million. So I know about sales and marketing, right? Okay, that's cool, right? Still too broad. We're still too broad. Why is that? Because there's still other people that have that. So what I'm looking for is I'm looking for like a sword with the sharpest point that is so sharp that you could stab it through a concrete wall. That could never exist, which I don't think it does. Okay, I'm okay? Because when you drill down on, forget all this other crap that you think you are. You're not. You're not those things. That stuff is garbage. Because there's always somebody else that can do that. Okay? If it's something that is, we've got to get you down to 1 of 1. Okay? 1 is 0. How about that? Okay? 1 and 1. 1 is 0, baby. We've got to keep drilling it down, drilling it down, drilling it down. So if I look at myself, actually, I would say things like, what's unique about me that gives me a broader advantage? I would say the main one is, I'm very, 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 very connected to my death. That's what makes me more interesting. That's the main thing. I know I'm going to die, and it's real to me. I don't view this as real. I don't believe that this is real. So because I don't believe that this is real, I am able to do content that other people can't do. I am able to have thoughts that other people can't have. And I'm able to bring something unique that you're probably not going to get anywhere else. Because I know I'm dead. Now, all of you know that you're going to die too, right? But you don't believe it. It's kind of real to you. 99% of you in this room, it's not real to you. So that also leads to your enslavement. So what does it mean knowing that I'm going to die? How does that impact me personally? Here's the way I put it to you. Most of you are seeking the infinite in breadth. You're trying to seek it in breadth. So you're looking to get a bigger ego, get more props, and live a longer life, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't look at life that way. I look at life like it's too damn short. I don't care if you live to 130, way too short. Guys, I'm turning 44 in a couple months. It's basically, by way of looking at it, minimum probably half over. Life extension, okay, maybe. Could also die in a car accident. Could also get shot. So, life's not guaranteed. You're not going to find the infinite in breadth. You can't. It's too short. So, knowing that it's too short, if you can't stretch it that way, what way should you stretch it? Like that. So the way that I live my life is I'm in a situation, taking a shower. How do you go? Okay? How do you groom and curate your consciousness that you go? Smoke some more weed? Yeah. Teleporting, baby. Training your mind to get more from a specific moment. You have to understand the infinite is in a millisecond. The infinite is in a millisecond. Infinity, your whole life, right there. Right there. You're dead. You are dead. Once you say that, what happens? You deactivate the ego. If you allow it in, if you don't allow it in, then it's like, this guy just telling he's dead, he's crazy. Okay? Let it in. Okay? For anybody here that felt that way, let it in. Okay? It's like if a stripper's giving you a lap dance, You can like, turn your head like, oh, I don't care about this, I'm too cool for this, or you can like get aroused, okay? They're putting on a song and dance for you, okay? I'm putting on a song and dance for you here, guys. Let it in. Let in the damn song and dance. Mama made you some turkey dinner, eat the damn turkey. Put your phone down, okay? You're dead. You're dead, okay? Just use an example, okay? Let in your mind, okay? To your ego. You're dead. 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 Let that in your head, okay? You're dead, bro. Okay? So, what that does is it deactivates all this BS, right? Like, it deactivates the programming, okay? Because the programming is clinging on to the ego structures. So that sort of deactivates it, and then your brain goes, whoa. Now, that's a tiny example, right? Something like, say, going into the Arctic Circle is a bigger example, because you can't escape from it. That's like the 5 hour long you're dead, right? Like, it starts to freak you out. So, but you're stretching yourself when you're doing this. It's literally exercise. So, imagine, by the way, look at even things like school. I mean, I think learning trinomial factoring is very cool. What if instead of that, they made, say that they just put facilities in every single city around the country, and they put facilities around national parks. And they figured out that there'd be very complicated logistics, very, very complicated logistics. But let's just say that we somehow figured that out. And now what you had was maybe when somebody's 17, you took a year to see the entire country, you put them on buses, put them in bunk beds, however you want to do it. Logistics would be tough, I'm not claiming it's easy. Put them on bunk beds, they visited the whole country, and people from the city got to meet people from the country, people from the country got to meet people from the city, people that are right wing could meet people that are left wing and really befriend them and know their values, people that are left wing could meet people that are right wing. Imagine if we had a greater vision for the country and where we're going. Does this country have a vision right now? How can you run a business without a vision? 90% of being a CEO or an owner in a business is having a vision for your company. Where's the vision? Where's the common narrative? Where are we going? What are we doing on this ship? So there has to be some kind of a vision. We have to get, if you're somebody who grew up in New York City, you better, I grew up personally thinking that people from the country were kind of weird. Then I was in Atlanta, and my buddy Ray, he brought me out to the country outside of Georgia. And I met people from the country. And I thought it was like some weird country boys. And then I got to talk to them. I'm like, why do they think they need a gun? I grew up in Canada. I'm like, why does an American need a gun? I didn't understand the mentality behind it. Then I met them, and I saw how they feel, and I realized they feel differently. But they also don't go in the city and see how somebody in the city might feel. So different people are generally, the highest percentage of people are generally pretty good people. They're not out to get you. Some are, right? Like people with cluster B personality disorders, highly selfish dickheads. But the vast majority of people are good. They're trying to get to the promised land like anybody else. But maybe actually try to take time to understand where it is that they're coming from. So why aren't we doing a bit of that? But instead we're just sitting there dwelling on polynomial factoring. So, who here remembers, I took trinomial factoring in grade school, who here now, without, having it laid in front of you to help you remember how to do it, can do trinomial factoring right now? Put your hand up in this room. Wow, that's even less than the Bible. So, there's an argument for teaching trinomial factoring, which is that it exposes kids to a wide variety of things they can be good at, and then if somebody's good at it, they can go do it in college. There's good arguments for it. I'm not trying to throw out the baby with the bathwater here, but how many of you in here spent God knows how many hours learning advanced math that you currently don't use at all? Put your hand up if you did that. Okay, so all that time is gone. You're not using your time effectively. It's just, that time's gone. You'll never get it back. And look, there's a lot of counter arguments to this. It at least gave you a chance to see what you thought of it, which for some people would work out for them. They would use it. It expanded your mind. It was problem solving. But what if we just reimagined the education system? What is of real value? What if we reimagined it? For me, as somebody that didn't get sick in 12 years, again, can you imagine how I would reimagine things like health and nutrition? And I'm not even an expert. I'm a layman. I'm not claiming to be an expert or giving advice. I'm just a layman that sat at Barnes & Noble reading some books. Imagine a professional, how you could re-envision healthcare. Imagine how you could re-envision the church. The church has become, for a lot of people, not everybody, I don't mean to insult it, or to throw the baby to the bathwater. A lot of people in churches working their butts off. But it has become something of such a joke that we no longer have a day a week to go get re-spiritually grounded. Imagine that. You're like, you guys are going, much like not flossing for years at a time. You guys are going, many of you, years at a time without getting spiritually reconnected. What would a re-envisioning of that look like? A bunch of shaming? Like just this very moralistic shaming school? Where you shame each other? And then you just see who will like spout back the lines and memorize it more without a real understanding? That's the extent of what this can be. I'm giving the worst possible version of this. There's great versions of the church too. I think if anything, I feel bad about it if I saw more of that. I understand that, okay? Easy to criticize, not so easy to create, is it? People criticize my stuff too. I'm like, yeah, let's see you get in there, bro. But what is it that how is that time being used? And where are the people that will come in and audit that time? There's a lot of government programs that you see. They're like, oh, I could get behind that, but what else could that be used for? That's money they're just taking from you. The point of a gun, and they're deciding where to put it. Could you think of a better place to put it? How would the efficiency be looked at if we were to actually dig into it? If I run a small business myself, you dig in the efficiency where the time and money is going, it's insane. People at a high level understand, repeat this after me, opportunity cost. Say that. It's all opportunity cost. And so it's not that some of these discussions or ways of doing things are bad or wrong per se. It just burns up your opportunity cost. Like, what's the real problem with video games? It's not probably hurting you. What's the problem? I mean, I guess maybe your dopamine or something, but what's the problem with video games? Just kills too much time. What's the problem with sitting there high all night? It's just killing your time. You know? So in my case, remember I said that when I'm looking at somebody, I'm looking at the real value they have, right? So what I'm doing, for example, let's take myself, right? Okay, so say I look at my own life. If I'm doing public speaking, and if I'm, sharing these different ideas, okay, I know that I'm going to die. So I have different options. I can put most of my time, okay, let me try to explain this to you. Let's pull back even a little bit further. The average person on a social media platform, do you think that they're putting most of their time into quality of content, or do you think they're putting most of it into chasing the algorithm? Okay, most of it is chasing the algorithm. So I have great friends. Here's how they create. They come up with a thumbnail and a title prior to even making the video, because they know that will influence distribution. They put most of the time into that thumbnail, and they put most of the time into the title. That's not necessarily a bad thing. There's value there. The truth is that you could also hire somebody to help you with that, right? It doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. Then what they do is because, for example, YouTube, which if you're watching in the future is a video platform, now you're watching this through some AI hologram space immersive thing and some metaverse. But, in this day and age, 2023, they tell me to do this. They go, when you do your video, what you should do is, you should give a hook. And then you should blather on about the hook for 4 or 5 minutes, but not saying anything at all, which then increases your watch time. And then you can start to give the information. Even personal growth programs are largely incentivized only to focus on the importance of mentoring, mastermind group, and taking action now. Is mentoring and taking action now a huge part of personal growth? Of course it is. But it's not the only thing. It's one of many things. People that don't get a mentor, people that don't get a mastermind, people that don't take action, they're screwed. They're so screwed. They have no idea. But that's not the only thing. So what happens is that they start spending their time chopping up videos in certain ways, chasing the algorithm, and so on and so forth. And here's what will happen. They'll go do this. They'll put out a bunch of crap that nobody takes action on. Those people will use it to entertain themselves with infotainment that they're not going to apply. Those guys will get some money doing it, but never feel the real self-esteem of truly being at their best, because some things money can't buy, like knowing that you're at your best. You can have $1 billion, but you'll never feel as good as when you're truly your best, even if you're less rich. They'll do that. Bunch of people will spend hours watching it, not do anything. They themselves will get money for not being at their potential. They'll die. Those people will die. And what will come of it? Just a big circle jerk. It's called a flurry of action, but no point. There's no actual point. It didn't move the ball down the field.
met some base level desires like a cow has to eat some food and have shelter. It operated at the level of a cow. You want to know some of the most beautiful things in life? Real friendship, genuine, real camaraderie, real art, genuine, real art, nature, real love. That's when you're getting into children. That's when you're getting into the, luckily most people do at least get that one part right. A lot of people have kids. Because it just happens by accident. They are forced to go down that path that actually benefits them. So, why are those things like love, children, creation and art, nature, what do those things have? Real expansion. What do those things have that make it at a higher level than just eating food and having shelter? Even though those things are important too, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. What is it about those things uniquely? Speak up.
There's no point to them.
Yes, you pretty much got it. Expand on that. What do those things have specifically?
There's no threat.
Yeah, what it is it what separates us from a damn animal. And I love animals too, but it's what separates us from an animal. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Is money important? Yes. Anybody who has a bunch of, I'm sitting here with $100,000 in jewelry on. I'm not going to go, money's not important. I referred to you to different ways that you could get these things for free. But, money's important. What I'm saying to you, however, is that there's higher things in life that are of more value than money. It's things that are not just putting you in an animalistic consciousness, or worse, unconsciousness. Animalistic consciousness or just profound levels of unconsciousness. We're spiritual beings. We have the ability to create. We have the ability for love. That's capacities that we have. And what will start to happen is that when you exercise these things, there's kind of what you call unlocks. Just say the word unlocks. Just say that word to remember.
Unlock.
There's unlocks that occur that are worth more than any amount of money that you could ever have. So there's certain unlocks that occur. And these unlocks that you get are worth more than anything you can buy. Once you know what these unlocks are, you will never, ever in your life see life in the same way. You will view your previous life as a joke, as a lie, as BS, as you not even existing. You'll basically view it like you weren't even born. So I want you to think of it, I would ask you to create a context. What would it mean to have a second birth? And what does a second birth mean? Let's pause and think about that. You're like, but wait, I'm born. I was born. I don't think most of you in this room were ever born. I don't view most of you in this room as existing. So, when I say you're never born, what might that mean? Just throw out some ideas. Think for yourself. What might that mean?
We're unconscious.
Unconscious. What else could it mean? Not at your potential. What else could it mean? Living someone else's life. What else could it mean? Yeah, haven't taken the time to become, when you think about consciousness, a lot of what that would mean is things like looking at your life. Not just like, oh, well, I'm tired, so I'm taking a crap now, and now I'm taking a shower, and I'm doing this job thing I'm supposed to do, and now I'm getting high, and looking at like, you're actually reclaiming your life, reclaiming your will. Now, if you've been drinking piss, like I referred to earlier, piss-polluted fluids, that's infected your brain with rot, and you're not in control of yourself, then are you alive? If you're a programmed being, are you alive? So what it means to be reborn is to get back to the point of having access to being a first mover. In other words, acting without being controlled.
You want to put his foot down.
And what is the only way that we can act as a first mover or without being controlled? In my personal view, the way that I would think about it is that we have spiritual consciousness, infinite consciousness. We have the consciousness of our ego. We have the consciousness of our body. If you're being run just only by the consciousness of your body, you are a slave. Your body's like, oh, I'll give you dopamine for this, and I'll give you cortisol for this. Punish you, right? You're a slave. Even if you're winning, but you're addicted on that dopamine, and you're afraid of those negative feelings, you're still a slave. You're a slave. So then what happens, how about ego? Oh, it feeds my ego, feeds my ego, feeds my ego, feeds my ego, feeds my ego. But you're still a slave to your ego. You're still being controlled. Now, the truth is, it is very dubious. The concept of free will in general is very dubious. Dubious at best. But a way of thinking about it is that you have that direct creation, that direct access or seed of your creator inside of yourself. You're not God. You're not. God is outside of you, but you have a tiny little spark of that in you. Now, some people might say, no, there's like a big spark. Come on, guys, just go look at the damn galaxy. go to YouTube, click galaxy, okay, and compare that to yourself. But nonetheless, while the scope of the galaxy or even the planet compared to you is laughable, we're like little worms. Worms would be little worm bacteria relative to the galaxy would be us ego tripping, like calling yourself Michael Jordan. Calling yourself a cockroach compared to the galaxy would be like saying that you're the Michael Jordan basketball, but worse. That's how low in scale we are compared to the galaxy. But within the small structure is a microcosm. There's a mirror of that energy actually inside of you, even though you're physically smaller in stature and whatnot. That's still inside of you. So you're not God.
Now I'm gonna disagree on that. I think I believe we are God, and inside us is verses and a galaxy and the gold and the diamonds and all that. So, but everybody has their own opinion. I believe you are God. I don't believe what he says there. Okay.
But there's a tiny, infinitesimally small element of that in you. Now, if that's your creator, do you want to tap into that as your decision-making process? Do you want to tap into your body as your decision-making process? Do you want to tap into social conditioning that you blindly accepted as your decision-making process? Do you want to tap into being intoxicated for your decision-making process? Now, the truth is, it's the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? You let your body just die. Well, that body was housing your soul. That doesn't mean just let your body die or not have respect for it. Your body is housing you. That's not a bad thing, right? The horses that bring along the cart are your friends. But when allowed to run in any which direction, and now those horses have people prodding them and manipulating them. So now you're not really running it in the cart in the back, in the wagon, and what you're doing is you're letting it run all crazy everywhere. The horses are being manipulated, you're being dragged along for the ride, and you think that's you living. So when we talk about love, or creation, or art, or connection to nature, or getting life, and when we think about that, that is worth more than $1 billion. How do I know? Is that me talking crap? Who are my clients during COVID? How do you think I kept the lights on in the building during COVID? All I did was coach guys with hundreds of millions and billions of dollars one-on-one all day to pay my bills. And I coach tons of these guys. If you ever see somebody who's very successful, and you talk to them, ask them if they know me. Ask them if I ever coached them. These are guys that I've coached for years, because guys that are very wealthy can usually only be coached by somebody who has the ability to lead them. And I'm the only one crazy enough for the job sometimes, because I don't care. I'll fire my rich clients. Guys pay me $30K an hour, I'll fire the guy. If he's not doing what I say, I don't care. But there's not a lot of people that would do that, so they look for people like that. So I've coached these guys my whole life. I coached them when I was young, and they were young, and they weren't rich yet. Stayed friends with most of them, and now a lot of how I pay my bills is these are guys that I'm plugged in those circles and I coach them. And I see what it looks like. And the most successful ones are usually, or in most cases, the most miserable, negative, and controlled. So I'm not impressed by that in the slightest. I think what they've accomplished in one over-optimized area is amazing, much like how I think that, I met Ronnie Coleman, the huge bodybuilder. I think his ability to optimize his body is really cool, but I think he over-optimized. Quick question, and then we've got to keep these quick. Typically during COVID, because you couldn't go anywhere, I coached him one-on-one over Zoom or over WhatsApp, just on video. Everything. Some of them I actually taught how to do organic traffic because they're useless at it. Many of them I actually taught in dating. Many of them I taught in social skills, confidence, spiritual growth, and for many of them I was a therapist. So a lot of those guys, everybody wants somebody who can actually help to lead them and help give them direction, but they're so used to yes men being around them that they need somebody crazy, and I'm oftentimes the only one crazy enough. They don't have to have someone richer than them or crazy than them to give them direction. So I'm the crazier one. So, yeah, many of them envy my life because they don't live their own life. Now, what I'm trying to get at you for here is, and these are also guys that I coach in dating when they're young. Like, the most famous of the most famous of the most famous are guys that I taught at boot camps back in the day. It's so crazy, bro. Like, the people that I coach, it's so crazy. And I'm friends with them now, but we keep behind the scenes. So, as soon as you start mouthing off, then other people don't want to come and do your coaching, right? Because you start mouthing off and bragging, then that's signaling to them, don't do business with that guy. So you start boasting and bragging. Same reason I don't ever trash talk anybody, by the way. You guys ever notice that I never trash talk people that trash talk me? You want to know why I never do that? Because when those are your clients, as soon as you start trash talking someone, they're worried that if you have a falling out with somebody in business, and then you trash talk them publicly, or even feel the need to defend yourself, somebody who's thinking of doing business with you and paying you very, very well, they see that you'll trash people that you have falling out, so they say, I don't want to do business with them. I mean, take me, as soon as I see somebody who does social media, and they have a falling out with somebody, they start trashing them in the public, I don't want to go near them, because I don't want to be involved in that. So whenever you see somebody trashing, they're taking the little dopamine hit of venting to the internet of people who don't even know them, but there's no way that somebody at a high level would ever do business with them. Even if the lie says they wouldn't. No way somebody at a high level would do that. Quick one, and then we got to keep going.
So you said that life is really about optimizing for one part.
Well, I'd say that's a part of life.
Yes.
And by the way, and I want to hear your question, that is also a spiritual thing. If God created a beautiful Thanksgiving dinner for you, maybe you should eat it. Right? Maybe you should eat the damn turkey. You know, if you made me a beautiful Italian dinner, and then I sit there staring at my phone while I'm eating it, how would you feel as a creator of that dinner? Okay, say that you're a parent and you do all this to pay for your kids, and they're miserable, how would you feel? So what is the best thing that your kids could do to thank you for giving them life? Have fun, grow, focus on the dinner, and take it in. If God created Denali, maybe you go see it. So I view that as an obligation. That is a spiritual contract and obligation that you have to be happy and to enjoy life. It also means to be willing to go through pain and not just go, only happiness, like an addiction, and like you're weak, but you shouldn't be aiming to, like, look, I don't mind proactive pain. If you're like an athlete or a meditator or, you're creating something like a proactively chosen pain to engage more. Pain can be to engage more. But what I'm talking about is the kind of like you're in a bad mood all the time because it's just your default. It's just easier to be in a bad mood and complain. Like you're on a beautiful trip and you're just complaining because you just let your autopilot run wild. And because you're asleep. Yeah, and then to finish your question.
So like this is a good example. Like you want to apply for like the most fun job or like the most fun career that you want. So you apply for a job and let's say you don't get the job.
Yeah, I never applied for a job anyway. Keep going.
Just like an example. Right?
Yeah.
You apply for another job that you think is going to be way more fun than your current job.
Yes.
You don't get that job. And now you're feeling like a little bit more down. So how do you optimize for a fun lifestyle?
But that's what I was saying, is that most people, they feel down and they get high. I feel down and I feel miserable. And then that misery coalesces into me raising my game and to getting to a point that I'm happy. How many of you guys, were maybe dating somebody and you really love them, but you're just a little too beta and they just left you or cheated on you or dumped you? That there, if taken the right way, can be so incredibly transformative. It's so incredibly transformative. You will literally slingshot yourself so far past that person that you were dating that you can get people way better than them because you absorbed it and didn't numb it.
But that pain still won't be a fun experience, right? So how do you still have fun?
So that's what I'm saying is that let's be clear about what I'm saying, okay? I'm not saying have fun at the expense of personal responsibility. What I'm saying is that you have look, I'm 40, okay, look. So, here's like a fun example, right? Like, I live in a fat mansion in the Hollywood Hills, okay? So I teach social skills. So some people will say, well, if you have a fat mansion in Hollywood Hills, but you teach social skills, I don't know if I could learn from you because I don't have a fat mansion in Hollywood Hills. Now, let's ignore that I was traveling, living on couches, floors, slept in bathrooms because the room was so packed. Slept in closets, some closets in a mansion, but some closets in a crap hole, that I did that for years and still was winning socially. If I'm 43 or 44 and I can't figure out a way to live in a cool crib, that means I'm dumb, bro. How old are you? You're like 25 or 25. Okay, so you're 25 years old, right? You're not supposed to have all that figured out yet. Some people do. I have friends who do, like Marcel. But most people don't at 25. That's fine. But, like, and it's also okay for you to be a bit miserable. Son, you're 25, bro. You're like a kid. To me. But, you know, I have friends, I'm